Chris, what are your thoughts about death?
A lot of them. All the time. Constantly.
Okay, that's worrying.
Yeah, it's very, part of my OCD.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Damn it, you got me on that one.
Yeah.
So, Chris, do you have anything in your life that helps you look at and understand death in various different ways?
Yeah, I mean, the topic of this podcast today has actually been great for me.
Oh, what is the topic of this podcast if you decided not to read the title?
Yeah, it's last meals on, Mythical Kitchen.
Oh, baby, we're talking about it. Yes, so host Josh Scherer hosts Last Meals on Mythical Kitchen, and today we're going to be breaking down how generally that show is therapeutic. So strap in, let's talk about it. Welcome back to this episode of It Is All Therapy, the podcast in which I yap at you and convince you that everything your beautiful eyes settle on and your beautiful ears hear can be therapeutic in some way. I am going down a rabbit hole of just mental confusion for myself, and I am dragging my friend Chris along with me. My name's Eric Panna. Chris, how are you?
I'm great.
That's it?
Yeah, work was something this week, but it's going to get better.
You did talk about that.
Yeah,
so.
It's going to get better.
Work is work, so.
Yeah. And life is life. Remember, life is what happens when you're off the clock.
That is a lot better than what I was told.
Oh, yeah, no. My sous chef told me that. Life is what happens when you're off the clock. Work is what happens when you're on it. Think about life.
I remember being told, and I was at Walgreens when I was told this, which that's a place to work. I was lied to multiple times at that place. I don't know if it was the workers I worked with, the management I worked with, I don't know what it was, but allegedly I was lied to multiple times about the position. Allegedly. But anyways, one of the things I was told at Walgreens was a day off is just a day of work without pay.
Oh.
I mean, to some degree, it's not horrendously false, but it doesn't feel good. It's true, but a bad precedent to set.
Listen, if you draw meaning from your work, that is great. And there's people that I know with very important jobs. You, my girlfriend.
I mean, you make food for people.
Yeah, I mean, my job serves, it's a product or a service you can buy, which is
always
important.
mine.
Which is important. No, I'm just saying, now we're getting into the importance of jobs. My job is a thing I do because it's enjoyable to me in a certain way, and it puts food on my table. I wouldn't do it if I didn't get paid. Your job is important to people.
Okay, I'm going to throw something back at you just because I want to catch Chris on a technicality.
Here he goes.
Yeah, here we go. You just said it puts food on your table, right?
Yes.
So would you say putting food on that table is like utmost importance?
Yeah.
Don't you work to put food on other people's table?
Yeah, but
don't you give me that bullshit. I can be more confrontational with you than other clients.
I'm not a client. All right?
That's what I'm saying. I get more confrontational with you.
Stop sending me the bills, all right? I'm not paying them.
It's funny. The whole point of this podcast is me to just talk to somebody and just to send them bills for me talking to them.
Yeah, you guys don't know this, but I am still an AI chatbot, but I get a bill every week in the mail, and it's getting to the point of harassment. But anyway, I get what you're saying. But I'm just saying, find meaning in your job. That's great. But don't let it define you.
But I also don't think you can find meaning in a job at Walgreens unless you're a pharmacist.
Right.
That's about it.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're a pharmacist working at Walgreens, get it. If you are a cashier at Walgreens and that is your life, I mean, if that's what you made your life out of, great. I am proud of you that you were able to find meaning in that.
People do. I mean,
Yeah, people do.
I work at the other big W company in this region that has cashiers, and people find a lot of meaning in that, and that's great.
Oh, I mean, working at the big W you work at I've heard it's a great job to work.
It's pretty chill.
So,
but don't make it your whole life.
No, it's hard when we live in a capitalistic society, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole today.
He saw me getting ready to go.
Oh, I was getting ready to go. I felt my engine revving up. Today, we're going to talk about the Mythical Society show, Last Meals, as Chris just cracks open some coffee.
That picked up a lot more than I thought it would. I'm sorry.
I don't care. We mentioned it. So, but no. So Last Meals is something that I remember seeing it come out, and I'm like, oh, wow, this is an interesting way to look at this. And then it was an interview show, which I'm like, that's even better. And it's just gotten better more and more. And I thought it was even great when it was just like the Mythical crew doing it. Like, I think Rhett was like the first one to do it overall. Technically, Josh was when he did his own Last Meal, but it's kind of hard. Even though I think Josh can interview himself for some reason, it doesn't surprise me if he was like, I'm going to interview myself.
Yeah.
Okay, he is the one person I think I can trust to do that. But do you remember the first big celebrity they got to?
No, who was it? Tom Hanks?
It was Tom Hanks.
That's right. Yeah, because I remember thinking, wow, that's a pull.
Yeah, I remember just seeing, like, when I woke up, because I think they were, like, getting some type of schedule going, and then all of a sudden I just see, Tom Hanks eats his last meal, and I'm like, they got Tom Hanks? I'm like, I can't believe they got Tom Hanks. And it was such a good episode. And, again, we're going to attach this, before we dive in, we're going to attach it to theory. So first and foremost, last episode we talked about existential theory, and we're going to talk about existential theory again, but this time we're going to talk about a different aspect of existential theory, and it is called, I just want to make sure, we're going to talk about two. It is anxiety as a condition of living. So this is from Gerald Corey's book, and what I like that it does is it breaks down anxiety in a couple different ways, where it has existential anxiety, and this is a direct quote, is the unavoidable result of being confronted with the givens of existence: death, freedom, choice, isolation, and meaninglessness. Existential anxiety arises as we recognize the realities of our mortality, our confrontations with pain and suffering, our needs to struggle for survival, and our basic fallibility. And then he goes on to even describe normal anxiety as like the appropriate kind of level of anxiety we have with things. Anxiety, I tell clients, for the most part, it's a built-in aspect to us. We have anxiety for a very specific purpose, and it's for survival, to keep us safe. But then you have what existential theory kind of coins neurotic anxiety, which is things that do not make sense. It is, lack of a better term, blowing things out of proportion or making things bigger than they really are. And then when we cut to the next aspect, awareness of death and non-being. So again, a direct quote from the book by Gerald Corey. The existentialist does not view death negatively, but holds that awareness of death as a basic human condition gives significance to life. A distinguishing human characteristic is the ability to grasp the reality of the future and the inevitability of death. It is necessary to think about death if we are to think significantly about life. Death should not be considered a threat. Death provides the motivation for us to take advantage of appreciating the present moment. Instead of being frozen by the fear of death, death can be viewed as a positive force that enabled us to live fully as possible. Although the notion of death is a wake-up call, it is also something that we strive to avoid. If we defend ourselves against the reality of our eventual death, life becomes insipid and meaningless. But if we realize that we are mortal, we know that we do not have an eternity to complete our projects, and that the present is crucial. Our awareness of death is the source of zest for life and creativity. Death and life are interdependent, and though physical death destroys us, the idea of death saves us. And I love how existential theory breaks down death, that it is it's really interesting because Death in the Therapy Room, the book goes on to say, like, Irvin Yalom, one of my favorite theorists, he wrote a book called Love's Executioner that is, if you're a therapist and you even, like, have never heard of existential theory, my first question to you is, like, how? But the second thing is, if you feel yourself tied a little bit to existential theory or feel like there's some truth in it, I highly encourage you to get Love's Executioner. It is a fantastic book. Chris, I even think you'd like it.
Sounds.
Irvin Yalom breaks down different cases he has in existential theory, and some of them are wild and some of them are really interesting, and it's really cool to see him break them down. But death is not this haunting thing about us. Like, I love how it, even in the quote, it breaks down that, like, death needs to be talked about. We need to talk about death. We need to mention death. We need to discuss death with people. It's so important to discuss it because death, I tell clients, it is one of the most common fears we have. It is one of the most common things humans are afraid of and anxious of. And Chris, do you know why death is, for some people, considered the most notorious and the most general fear that humans have?
Like, why it is a fear?
Yeah, why it is not only a fear, but like such a general thing that so many people have like dread or fear about.
Are we talking on an evolutionary aspect, or
it could be evolutionary, it could be modern day, it could be anything.
I mean, if you weren't afraid of death, you would be less likely to be careful, in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
So those that weren't afraid of death tended to take more risks, tended to not live to reproduce. And, that's kind of naturally
super survival on that one.
Naturally selected for humans, and I'm sure pretty much anything with a central nervous system and a brain to fear death in some way, or at least fear things that can cause death.
But what is the difference between fearing death for risk takers and respecting death for risk takers?
I mean, I'm not sure. See, this is the episode where it's going to cause me to spiral, because this is, I've referenced it last episode, something that I deal with constantly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a daily thing for me. So for me, I fear the process of dying.
Yeah.
The idea of knowing that it's coming, it's not even being dead that scares me. It is the idea of knowing it is coming and not being able to get off the roller coaster, so to speak, as you hurtle down the hill. But why it's a fear, I'm not sure why it would be common across everybody.
No, and I think there's a lot of truth in what you said, where like there is like that survival of the fittest, survival aspect to it, where it's, if you don't fear death, then you're going to take more risks, and higher risks, which can lead to death, obviously. Whereas I find those who fear death are less likely to even move any inch away or inch towards it. I tell people I have a very strong self-preservation instinct. So I don't take a lot of risks. I'm very safe with a lot of the stuff I do. But sometimes it keeps me from stepping out of my shell or moving out a little bit. Whereas I find those who don't fear death go way too far. Whereas those who respect death learn how to toe that line, and know how to toe that line a little bit more comfortably, so that they can take a risk, but then also know when they need to stop, when they start risking it, or when they know when they can push a little bit more on certain things. And I think it's really important to know and see those different aspects to that, because it allows death to be seen as like that motivating factor that existentialism kind of views it as, that death is what we are not battling against, but battling with, in a weird way, I guess. So, but Chris, when it comes to therapy, in a lot of ways, death is seen as a very anxiety-producing or a very heavy thing to talk about, and people struggle with, because humans inevitably, in my opinion and how I've kind of learned, is Humans do not like unknowns. Humans do not like not having answers to things. We like when things are answered. For example, so much of therapy is finding out what you didn't get closure on and figuring out how do you find closure on it. And then when you find closure on it, it's a lot easier to accept and understand it and move on from it. Death has never worked that way. Nobody's ever come back from death. No one's ever fully died and come back and told us what happens. So we don't know. So many religions crop up out of death because it's trying to help answer that unknown. And if it's a great religion that, for example, I do like the morals of like modern Christianity for the most part, just I don't think many people actually follow them. But like the common morals of like, I grew up United Methodist of like, we take care of people, we feed people, and we love people. That's it. That's what we're supposed to do. And if you follow those morals, great, let's do that. But a lot of religions crop up around death because it is that unknown that we're trying to answer. And then there is comfort in accepting that, oh, this religion or this thing tells me this is what happens after death. And I find comfort in it because now I'm not wrestling with this uncertainty or whatever is happening after life. And a lot of people really wrestle with that. One thing I love talking to clients about is when they start to open up like that death, what happens and stuff like that. I love talking about that and hearing different theories or different thoughts because no matter how you slice it, it's a part of life. One of the things I fully believe in is we need to talk about the difficult stuff. For example, when I see couples who haven't talked about divorce, for example, or what a breakup would look like, that's almost a red flag to me because it's like you need to talk about that stuff. I'm not saying it's easy to talk about, but knowing that it could be a possibility is important to know because it helps you adjust for it. It helps you accommodate for it. If it's this big bad unknown that you don't want to happen, so you're never going to talk about, well, you're never going to talk about how to go against it either, for the most part, or at least you're not going to talk about it in a productive way because you're not looking at it. Death is the same way. We don't talk about death on a very big basis. It's not a common thing that is brought into interviews or common discussions or communications, but it is so heavily important to discuss death because it is inevitable. It's even more than divorce. It is an inevitability. It will happen, but we don't talk about it. And so it stays this very anxiety producing, very depression provoking. It puts us in that existential vacuum because we don't know how to feel about it because we don't talk about it. And at the same time, if we lose a religion, like Chris and I both talked about, last episode, falling away from our own faiths in some way, we kind of lost that portion for ourselves. And so now we're left with this, well, this is what this religion was telling us was happening. Now we're kind of figuring out what actually happens. And that's where a lot of that existential dread comes in because it's just emptiness. And it feels, I know for me, when I think about, I have the very typical, I think it's typical, the very existential dread around the thought of being nothing is terrifying to me. And I guess I can link that to what I talked about in The Whale, where, most of my life I felt like nothing, but we're not going to go down that rabbit trail. I know what I'm talking about with my therapist this month, but it is crucial that we talk about this stuff because it helps to understand that void. Chris, I said a lot.
One thing, do you think your therapist listens to this podcast and like takes notes, like gets ready for?
Honestly, no. But now I'm thinking about like, I don't know if, would that even be ethical?
It's like a cheat sheet.
It's weird because I think if it's something you stumbled on and you listen to it without realizing it, it'd be ethical. But I think if you, and this is me in my head talk about ethical dilemmas, I think if you actively searched it out, watched it, and then started to share it with people, if you don't tell them that it's a client, then I think you can it's a gray area, which, can be good or bad. I don't know. But if you're being like, hey, my client made this, HIPAA immediately is bashing your kneecaps in. But no, I don't think she does. And if she does, hi, are you proud of me? I'm talking about these things with somebody. But I don't think she does. It'd be cool if she did. Like, I have no issues with that. I'm very open.
That was my deflection to avoid talking about death.
Yeah, I know, Chris. I'm talking it. But it's what are your thoughts on everything I said?
Oh, again, a lot.
Okay.
You know, it is.
And you can talk, in all seriousness, you can talk as little as much as you want.
Yeah. You know, you referenced what we referenced last week about losing our faith, and I have gotten to the point of being envious of myself before I had my deconversion, because this was never a problem. I mean, I've always had OCD. That's generally a chronic thing, I believe, right? But it always manifested in different ways, because death was not a concern of mine, because I was going to go and live in a house with Jesus. And now that's not what I believe happens. And like you said, the fear of the unknown is horrifying.
Yeah.
The fear of the people being left behind that I care about, and not. I'm a protector, I think, by nature.
Yeah.
And the fear of not being able to do that for people anymore terrifies me.
Of course. Yeah.
And if you want to take my advice, if you have these fears, don't do what I did and join the military, because it makes them worse.
I find it funny how when we tried to do this podcast before, a big hinge of it was like, oh, Chris is a military person. And this is the first time we're talking about it now. So it just...
Yeah. Being, joining the Marine Corps during an active war makes you confront death a little bit more.
Yeah. But also, from the military people I've met and talked to, would you say it also desensitizes you a bit?
Yeah.
Or tries to, at least?
So, like, the thought of dying in combat didn't bother me, because it was always, if I do that, the way I'm going down is with my friends, for my friends.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of...
It's purposeful.
Yeah. It's like if, you know, every Marine believes that they would stop a mass shooting. I truly believe that if there was a mass shooting going on, I would try to. I don't know if I'd be successful. Bullets tend to move really fast, and I don't move as fast as bullets, but the thought of like dying like that doesn't bother me. So it's weird. It's the man, this one you might actually have to send me a bill for. The thought that bothers me the most is the long drawn out illness.
Yeah.
You know, knowing it's coming for...
Like body shutting down, that kind of stuff, yeah.
Yeah, knowing it's coming for years or months even, and just, I don't know. I mean, I have a dear friend, you know, Juliana, her grandmother, had a 6-week illness, and I've never seen somebody so brave knowing they were going to die.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she got there, but I hope to someday.
And I think there's definitely the aspect of, like, we could talk more about, like, different theorists, but Erik Erikson comes to mind. Yes, Erik Erikson. He's my name twice.
That's very Northern European.
He has, I believe they're called the psychosocial stages of development, where you have crises that you work with in different stages of your life. For example, the first one is trust versus mistrust as an infant. Do you trust those around you, like your parents, or do you not trust them? Do you find mistrust through them? One of the oldest ones is, do you give to the previous generations and you be brave in the face of death, or do you kind of cower and hide yourself in death? And I find when people are given like that, almost like you're going to die, that is what it is, you have this long to live, well, you have a choice to make. Are you going to be brave and look at it, or are you going to wallow in it? And some people choose to wallow in it. Some people learn to be brave. And one has a lot more power than the other. One is choosing to have power. One is choosing to relinquish power, in my opinion. And that is why you have people become victims or people become powerful during those moments. So, but Chris, thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
And I think it adds credence to why I think last meals is such an important thing. I remember even like watching some of it today in preparation for this. I saw a comment on YouTube where someone's like, as a therapist or someone in like the therapy profession, they're like, stuff like this is so important. And I'm like, how funny that we're going to be talking about it today. And I see that as a comment.
Yeah.
But again, it comes back down to that, just talking about it. I don't know of any other long-running, because something that blew my mind. Chris, how many episodes of Last Meals do you think there are?
37.
Around 70.
Really?
I'm almost positive I saw that there's like 70 or so.
Wow.
Because they have so many people on nowadays. And it is so long running, and it is so impactful and so important. And like I said, talking about it, one, is important enough as it is. Talking about it, understanding it, seeing it for what it is one, such a massive part of helping to kind of alleviate that like unknowingness, that discomfort around death. We don't know what death is. We don't know what comes after. We don't know if any religion is right or wrong, but we know death is there. So talking about it alleviates that for us and demystifies it, which is so powerful to just demystify something for ourselves. The opposite side of that, though, or another component of Last Meals, is you see all the different ways all these different people have struggled with life, struggled with death. And I find like I don't watch it nearly as much as I should anymore, or I lag behind quite a bit just because I'm working like 3 to 4 jobs right now. But it is such a powerful show because not only are you able to see people talking about death, which is such a uncommon thing even still nowadays, but you're able to see all the different perceptions or all the different perspectives on death, different family beliefs or different struggles people have had to go through, and how death has helped, or like the acceptance of death has helped in that. One of the things I love is the episode where there's I think it's Maria Bamford, and she actually asks the host Josh, like, well, what happened to your mother? And he kind of talks, I don't want to spoil it because I want people to go watch this, but he talks about his experience with his mom and how that impacted his life. And having that talk just like in an interview is outrageous to me, but also is so powerful and so healing because we're talking about death, we're talking about life, and we're also connecting with people. And, I have some favorite episodes that my hope is like we're going to talk very generally about it right now, but then we're going to go into specific episodes that Chris and I find very impactful because I think it's really important to look at that. But Chris, do you have a favorite episode? I know we were talking a little bit about it before, and you said it's kind of changed here and there, but
yeah, the number one is Maddie Matheson.
Mm-hmm.
One, because one thing that I don't even think we've brought up with Last Meals is the food quality.
Yeah.
Josh is a cook, if you've ever watched any of his stuff,
Mm-hmm.
is incredible. And then to have one of my favorite chefs on, and Maddie Matheson's a guy who is very sarcastic and jokes around a lot, and he struggled on that show. And I loved seeing him, Josh's ability to break down the walls
Mm-hmm.
that Maddie was constructing in the interview was impressive. So that one's my favorite.
Yeah. I know my favorite, and like if you know me at all, Babish, Andrew Ray, that is just such a good one, which I'm going to use something he actually said in this episode because I think, or one of the things he talked about, because I think it helps to encapsulate Last Meals and also death itself.
Babish's was so powerful.
Because he talked about his own mental health struggles and went into that, which a lot of people do on the show, but like somebody who I love and is also a Western New York native, just really powerful. But I also think that like Andrew Ray is just a really cool person and I love him. But
you both chose chefs from within an hour of Buffalo. That's funny.
Yeah. Trust me. Wow. We chose people who are near to Buffalo.
Yeah, fair. Good call.
Yeah. So Chris, we say go Bills at the end of every podcast.
It's true.
And I'm not like a huge football person either. That just kind of came out of me. So I know where I live. So I know if I have a podcast that's based in Buffalo, you pretty much have to sign it off by Go Bills.
Praise God.
I'm happy to do, but
yeah.
Josh Allen. But I love another one I wanted to mention because I thought it was really interesting was, have you watched Rebecca Black's?
Yes.
That one I watched on a whim. So how I watch them is I'm like, if I know who the person is, immediately I'll watch. If I don't know who they are, I take my time and I'll watch them at some point. But obviously, like, I'm going to watch the people who I know a lot more. Like Andrew Ray, I was almost breaking my phone trying to watch that fast. Rebecca Black, for some reason, I'm just like, that is such an interesting person that they got on here, because she is like a living meme, to say the least. But having her talk about the impact that becoming so famous for kind of all the wrong reasons and how that impacted her, and now how she is just like living life and doing what she loves to do, is so inspiring and cool. But again, it adds that, like, this is a show about death. This is a show about you're going to die at some point. And being able to just be open and talk about it, break those bridges or cross those bridges and, you know, break those barriers and talk about the thing that is not so often talked about. It's so powerful. And it adds like this community around it that I think is amazing. And it is so therapeutic to also hear different people talk about these things, but also not only hear different people talk about them, but like at this point, they've had so many different people that, like, Jason Kelsey was on that. Again, like I just said, I am not a football person. I never grew up a football person. To be honest, one of the things I spoke at Geek Ed Convention a couple weeks ago, and one of the things I put in my introduction was I'm a Western New York native, which means I am morally obligated to like the Buffalo Bills, which is like, I wish it was wrong, but it's true. But like, I like the Bills. I like watching them. I like watching football, but I see it more as a community event. But like, I watched the Jason Kelsey one pretty quickly, mainly because I knew Josh is an Eagles fan. And it was so cool to see Josh get so excited with that, but also still talk about that with Jason Kelsey and talk about that with somebody who is, at least in America, has such a huge following and has so much around him, at least at the time, had a lot around him. The other one I loved, did you watch the Serge Tankian one?
Yes, and I didn't know anything about him before, and fell in love.
Oh my God, I did not, like, I saw him, again, as like Serge Tankian eats his last meal, and I'm like, I know Josh is such a huge System of a Down fan.
Yeah.
I can't believe he pulled Serge Tankian. So I remember I didn't know Serge Tankian had a coffee company, and my boss is a huge System of a Down fan. And I remember I got her his coffee and his like coffee making thing, and I got her a signed bag by him. Because I asked her, I'm like, do you know Serge Tankian? She's like, you mean like founder and lead singer of System of a Down? Of fucking course I know Serge Tankian. So I'm like, cool, let me tell you about this last meals thing, but in the background I'm going to be ordering you something for a Christmas gift. Which was such a cool thing to do. But like hearing him talk about like, you know, his life of like pushing forward, like talking about like the Armenian genocide and how like that put a target on his back, and how literally at shows he would be worried about if there's a sniper somewhere ready to take him out. Like that, again, it's life and death, and it is somebody doing what they love, making music and doing what they enjoy, and also speaking about something that is so important to them in the face of death. Like literally facing death from opposition is like so powerful. And, you know, we can talk day and like on and on and on about all this stuff, because I think all the different perspectives you see, all the different things you break down are so powerful. And it is so refreshing to see something about death be just broken down and, you know, seen from different perspectives. But yeah, Chris, any thoughts? I just said a whole lot.
Yeah, well, I would recommend, if anybody's not watched the show and wants to get into it, kind of do the opposite of what you do. Look at somebody that you don't know about.
Yeah.
Those have been the episodes that have surprised me the most, of like, you know, I mentioned to you off recording, like Kevin Bacon. I have no opinion on Kevin Bacon before watching his episode today.
Yeah.
Holy cow, what an interesting guy. You know, you can learn so much about the internal workings of somebody and what they think about death which I never knew I wanted to know what every celebrity thought happened after they die until this show came out, because it is supremely interesting, some of them.
Yeah.
You know, Tom Segura just being so okay with, you go in a box. That's it.
And one of the things I love that so many of the celebrities have said, that they're like, both, this is the best interview show we've been on. I mean, they're feeding them their favorite food, so I would hope so.
Yeah.
But they also say, like, Josh is such a good interviewer, and it is so intimate, and like the Josh does so much research and like gets into their lives so well, that it's so cool to see even the guests just be like, yeah, this is just such a cool experience to talk about this and break this down and see it from this perspective. And it is just so interesting. And like, again, it's helped, at least for me, it's helped a lot with like facing death. I still have like that existential like pit in my stomach that comes in when I think about death, when I think about what does non-existence look like, what happens when I am no longer here. And that is horrifying. Not only, like, I agree with Chris that like the faculties kind of failing you, horrifying. The thought of like not being able to breathe. Okay, we're gonna stop talking about it. I just like had that thought, and I'm like, I'm not putting myself through this. I don't want to put Chris through that.
Yeah.
But
then I'll start thinking about, what if I get ALS, and holy shit.
Stop. But no, like, this show has helped me be a little bit more open about talking about it, and be more open with, I don't want to say facing it, because to be fully honest, I don't think I'm there yet. I don't think I'm there to just say like, I am ready to face death. I'm not. I don't think I ever will be. But it gives me more of a platform and the ability to talk about it, which, like, again, media, like we talked about in a couple different episodes, can be so impactful because it gives us the ability to communicate through. And I may not be good about talking about death in and of itself as a concept, because death is just fucking horrifying. However, being able to say, here's an episode of Last Meals that I think encapsulates quite a bit about it, and being able to do that and like use those words and use that video to kind of convey meaning helps to bridge that gap of death, helps to talk about death. We need to demystify death. Like, the existential theory, again, focuses very heavily on like, death needs to be a motivating factor. Death needs to be something that is talked about and discussed. And we don't talk about it. Trust me, there's 21 Pilot songs we're going to get into that really break down death in various different angles and so many different aspects of it. And I think it's important that we continue this conversation. We talk about it. We break it down. You know, my hope is to dive into Last Meals, all the different ones that are really important, because I think they all have something super innately powerful to say, because different perspectives give different viewpoints on death and give different comforts on death. I find, for example, the aspect of even religious kind of connotations. Like I said, some religions have wonderful morals behind them. And if you find comfort in those good morals and you're not hurting anybody and you're treating people properly and with kindness, and you are finding comfort in death off of it, hell yeah, do that. But it's having that conversation, opening that door. There's a lot of, there's a lot of dread. There's a lot of existential issues around it, and there's a lot of anxiety around it. But we need to talk about it because it's an inevitability. It is going to happen, and we need to respect it. That's why, Chris, at the beginning of this, I asked you, what about respecting death? What about just respecting it? Because it's there, no matter what we do. I remember seeing some of my favorite comics kind of list death as like this creature that is like this really, this overly, I remember seeing this comic where like it is death kind of portrayed as like this caring, wonderful creature who is a necessity. He is needed. And it's really important to focus on it, that death is not the enemy. Death is a friend, and view it that way. So, Chris, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, It is hard to get there, but if you're able to, do it. I do have a question for you, Eric.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the lightning round?
Oh my God, don't do this to me.
What person, alive or dead, would you like to share your last meal with?
I can't believe you're hitting me with this.
I am.
Oh God, I am not prepared for this. So
I'm doing it.
Yeah, just shut the hell up,
No,
Chris.
oh no, we're doing this.
Part of me wants to say my wife, because I think that's just like
That's probably the actual answer.
Like, yes, it would be Sarah, but at the same time, honestly, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to say Rylan, my son.
Hey, well, that's the other good answer.
So,
yeah, all right. Dream eulogizer.
Dream eulogizer. I had somebody and it went away. Part of me wants to say Morgan Freeman, just because
the voice.
It's Morgan Freeman. But honestly, kind of. Is it allowed to be live or dead?
I believe so.
Robin Williams.
There you go. What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear. I'm trying to think how to word it. Meaning or being nothing, or like being purely lonely.
Relevant. What do you think happens after you die?
I don't know. And I think that's something to get comfortable with as an answer too.
And are you happy?
Most of the time, yeah.
Good.
So thanks for hitting me with that. And we're not at the end of it yet, but
I had to make sure I got it in before you ended it.
Of course. So one of the last things I wanted to touch on, because I think it really encapsulates, and we'll dive more into this because we're definitely going to go into like the Maddie Matheson video. We're going to go, Chris said the Kevin Bacon one is really good. I haven't watched it personally yet. We're going to go into all these specifically, but one of the ones from, like I said, one of my favorite ones, Babish's, that I think really encapsulates a lot of this is Babish talks about an experience where I think he was in high school, where he talks about how he had a class on death and dying, and how he said they were paired with people from like people who were terminal, people who were in I forgot what the term is.
Hospice.
Hospice, yes. That they were paired with people from hospice who were going to die, and how they learned all the different, like, what cultures and religions and all these different things, what they all say about death. And I remember also him saying that, like, when the person they were attached to passed away, they just had a moment to just sit, honor, talk about it and stuff like that. And I think it is so powerful because when you break down, most people know, do you know Kubler-Ross?
No.
So you know Kubler-Ross, you just don't know it as Kubler-Ross. Do you know the stages of grief?
Yes.
That's Kubler-Ross.
Okay.
Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. I say DABDA. I believe, and I can be wrong on this, but I believe reading some stuff that says like they actually added like another one after acceptance. Because acceptance, how I kind of explain it for some people, can feel kind of stagnant, where you're just kind of like, okay, it's over, but now what? What do we do after that? And so I don't know how they coin it, and I should have looked it up before this, but I just often kind of phrase it as like honoring. You honor. What do you do out of that death? What do you do moving forward? And I like how Babish put it, where it's like you have that moment of silence. You respect that person was an impact on your life and was meaningful. And I thought that that is just such a beautiful way to have that conversation happen, to have people actually, be confronted with death, but in a way where it's like you're here to learn about it, to accept it, to appreciate it, and respect it. And I wanted to say that because I think it is such an important component of, we're going to talk about death a lot of this podcast. I'm not going to shy away from that as much as I kind of want to, because I think it's important. And it's even led me to, I want to try to do my own program as a therapist on that exact thing of how do we help people process grief or, see grief and death and dying for what it is, but in a very productive way, and helping people appreciate it and see it for what it is. Because we don't. As a society, we don't talk about it, and we're not allowed to talk about it in certain aspects. And what I mean by that is a common phrase you hear is don't talk ill of the dead. And I don't think that's fair. either.
Right.
I think it's important that like humans are the culmination of positive and negative. And you shouldn't be able to just say, well, don't talk about the negatives of a person if they're dead. Like, no, you need to talk about that. It is part of who they are. And again, I think, last meals give such a wonderful platform to break this stuff down, to talk about it. And it is just such a powerful way to crack it open and break it. And I think it's really important to have stuff like this to be able to open up and talk about it. So Chris, any last?
No, I mean, confront your fear of death every day if you need to. Don't let it ruin your life, I guess, is the culmination of everything I've learned today.
Yeah. And I'm looking up something, so I'm just going to keep talking. Because I don't know where Chris got those questions.
I memorized them.
Okay, so I'm going to try to get to them. If I miss one, let me know. So Chris, for you, who is somebody alive or dead you'd want to share your last meal with?
My girlfriend, or your wife, because Sarah is very good at conversation.
Oh, great. Yeah. I married her.
Yeah.
So I would hope so.
Yeah.
Dream eulogizer.
My friend Rafa, and he's got to, because he wouldn't be able to get through it without crying, but he's got to make jokes about how I died. And if he starts crying, he's got to restart, and people have to boo him and heckle him. That is actually what I want. So
I love that. What was it actually?
Biggest fear.
Oh, biggest fear.
Death.
Okay.
What do you think happens after you die?
What do you think happens after you die?
Nothing.
Okay. And is the last one, are you happy?
Yeah.
Are you happy?
Absolutely.
Happy to hear that.
Never been more happy, actually.
So off of that, confront death. Try to let it be a friend, or at least a motivator. And don't be afraid to take risks. Just respect that. Don't shy away from it, but also don't ignore them. Death is an inevitability, and it's important to talk about it. So off of that, remember that you matter. Remember that everybody matters. And go Bills.
Go Bills.